What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. I hope you guys are going to enjoy this one. I am very excited for this episode because I've got my friend Aiden with me today, and Aiden's been actually working with us over at the MIgardener headquarters, and so we become friends. And he was over the other day and he was asking me about potatoes, and I figured it'd be a really fun opportunity to bring him out here to actually harvest the potatoes because he didn't know that they were potato plants. He didn't know. I mean, he knew what a potato was, but he didn't know what the plant actually looked like. And so I thought it'd be kind of a fun opportunity to bring you out here and actually harvest some potatoes, as well as maybe learn something, because you're gonna have
my first time.
You're gonna have a garden someday, I hope. And well, I
was talking about getting a garden.
You were talking about getting a garden and wanting one, and so I thought potatoes are kind of. You talk about how much you like potatoes, and so potatoes are, in my opinion, probably one of the most fun crops to grow, because you plant one potato and you get like 6 plants, and one potato can yield like 3 to 5 pounds of potatoes. So it's kind of the plant that keeps giving. And the really cool thing is that you can actually, later on, you can actually save your own potatoes. We have videos on how to do it. You can actually save your own potatoes and use them as seed for the following spring. And so it's truly a crop that you only have to buy once, and you could kind of multiply your crop, and it's super versatile like that. So do you have any questions before we get?
How do you plant potatoes? Do you just plant the whole potato?
Yeah, so in the early spring, that's a really good question, by the way. A lot of people ask how we plant them, and if you want an actual video form, if you want a video form, I got a video on it.
You got it.
No, so we do have a video on it if you want to watch a full video form, but we in the spring we'll dig a trench,
okay.
And the trench will dig about 5 to 6 inches deep by about 2 or 3 inches wide, and we'll put the whole potatoes, right in the hole, right in the trench.
Okay.
And then we add our fertilizer. We actually will put the fertilizer right inside the trench.
And it has to have the eyes, right?
Yep, the eyes. Yep,
okay.
That's good. Yep. So you know something.
Yeah.
For not knowing anything, you know something. So potatoes have eyes, and you want to wait for the eyes to form. You don't want to just plant like a potato that's just like a fresh potato. You want to let them start forming the eyes a little bit.
Okay.
Once they start forming the eyes, those are the beginning of the plants. And then when you put those down in the trench, that's actually going to form the plant. And the roots then go down and form new potatoes. And so a lot of people think that the potatoes form along the stem of the plant. Like, people think that the potatoes actually form on the plant itself.
Yeah.
They actually form on the root system of the potato plant. And so, so that's why you dig it deeper. Because what happens is, if you just planted a potato right on the surface, it would set down roots, but then what would happen is, as the potatoes formed, they would actually start coming out of the soil. And obviously, I mean, your mom probably told you never to eat green potatoes. So
yeah, I know that's a bad potato.
Yeah, it's a bad potato, right? So eating a green potato is actually it can actually be poisonous. Now, in small amounts, not really, but it actually creates arsenic. And arsenic is a very it's a very deadly chemical, and so that's what's formed in the green skin of the potato. And so to protect them from turning green, you want to bury them deeper. And a lot of farmers, they'll actually hill them. They'll they'll pile up soil around the plant because they can't really plant them deeper. But in our raised beds, because our soil is so loose, dig the trench, put the potato in, put some fertilizer in, and then you're pretty much good to go.
So no green potatoes here, right?
There's a few. I mean, you can see some green potatoes.
Really?
Like, you can see a couple. And I'll bring you guys in close to show you what I'm talking about. But you can kind of see there are some green potatoes. There's also, eventually, you do sometimes get a cucumber that you do sometimes get a cucumber that gets away when you grow it in the potato patch. But we'll save that one for seed. The potatoes, they start to kind of erupt from the soil, and a good way to prevent that is just by digging them deeper. If you dig them like 6 to 8 inches deep, you pretty much don't have a problem. Now, the next thing we do that's very important is, because we're growing in compost, and compost is a pH of 7. It's very neutral. It's not acidic and it's not alkaline. We have to add some type of acid. You need actually some type of acid in your soil to prevent them from scabbing.
For potatoes?
For potatoes. Potatoes need acidic soil in order to prevent scabbing. And scabbing is a disease that creates these kind of like cracks and scars, and
I know what you're talking about.
it just it makes the potato spoil a lot faster. It doesn't affect the flavor as much as it does affect the shelf life. And so to form a really good healthy skin on the potato, you need a pH of right around like 4.5 to 5, which is actually quite acidic. It's one of the most acidic soils in your garden. Things like potatoes and blueberries are really some of the most.
Can you test for the pH in this?
Yep.
Do
Yeah.
you have like a soil tester?
Yeah, you can test the pH. It's really simple. In the beginning of the season, we pretty much just so we've learned how much sulfur to add.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning of the season, when we're planting our potatoes, we might add I'd say about like a quarter cup or so of powdered sulfur.
Yeah.
We just add the powdered sulfur a quarter cup per row, and so these are 4 feet wide rows, and so because our rows go this way rather than this way, so the rows are 4 feet long or wide, however you want to put it, and each one gets about a quarter cup, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of potatoes. So we did probably about a cup total in this space.
Gotcha.
And this is about 16 square feet.
So how do you know when to harvest the potatoes?
So you harvest the potatoes so the plant grows up, it'll be nice and green, it'll start to flower. You can harvest potatoes as soon as it starts to flower. That's when you know there's actually potatoes forming on the roots of the potato plant.
Okay.
But you don't have to harvest them as soon as they start to flower. You can let them start to die back. And that's my personal preference, because if you let them grow and you pull them when they're flowering, you're going to get really small potatoes. You're not going to get as many. So what I like to do is let them grow up, let them start to die back. And how you know they're starting to die back is the plants actually start to turn yellow. Like they're really not growing a whole lot, and they haven't probably grown in 3 or 4 weeks. That's how you know they're ready. Some people let their plants die completely back, and you can do that as well. That really guarantees that the potatoes are done growing and maturing.
Yeah.
But if you do that, sometimes in really wet climates like here in Michigan, you run the risk of the potatoes rotting in the soil. So like if you're someplace where it's really dry and really warm, you don't have to worry about it as much. But as soon as you start getting into like early fall, mid-fall, where you pull the potatoes up, you do run the risk of them rotting, because we get really, really cold nights, really wet mornings, the dew and stuff, the soil stays damp for a long period of time, and that's where you're gonna get soft, rotted potatoes.
Gotcha.
So that's why we don't have the luxury of doing that. We've tried it many years, and it just doesn't turn out well at all. They end up like pill bugs and other insects will eat them. They turn soft and nasty. So you just want to wait. So the ideal time for us here in Michigan with a potato like this is as soon as the plants start turning yellow, they stop growing, and they start to show some signs of dying back. So if you want to just take this whole plant, take this whole bunch just like this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, take this whole bunch and just pull up the whole bunch.
This right here?
Yep, that's a whole plant. Well, it's many plants, but it's one potato that we planted.
All right, no whammies.
No whammies, let's go. Nice. So a lot of the potatoes are actually in the soil. So because when you pull them up,
okay.
Yeah, so you can actually.
So you have to dig for them.
You have to dig for them, and these are really nice potatoes. I'll hold them if you want to pull them up.
Dang, you're right. They're deep in here.
Yeah, there's gonna be quite a few in there. There should be, at least. And we can also, once we're done pulling the plant up, we can also so like the potatoes attach to the roots too. So you got all those.
That might be it.
Yeah, so that might have been it for that first one. And some plants you do get, oops, no, it's right there. So some plants you do get less, and some plants you do get more. This season was very, very dry, and so I don't expect to get a massive harvest this year, because any year you have a really dry year, the potatoes just don't size up like they would normally, and they don't grow as well as they would because they're stressed. So, but this all in all, that's a really good. That was from one potato.
Yeah.
So you turn one small potato that was about this size. We turned one potato that was about this size into this many potatoes. So you really can't complain.
Are they all yellow potatoes?
Yeah, they're all one kind. It's all called. It's just called. The variety's called Kennebec.
Oh, okay. I just call them yellow potatoes.
You see, this is how you get friends to work for you in the garden. It's really a really good way to get some free labor. Get some free labor out of it. You can keep pulling, and then you can just hand me the potatoes. There you go. There's a bigger one. There's actually a huge one at the bottom.
Yeah, I see this.
There's one attached to the plant too. Yeah.
You want
and
me to grab these small ones?
the really little ones you don't have to worry about too much.
Okay.
Only the big ones. I don't worry about the little ones. I know that like there are people that are like, oh, you should grab every potato, but it's like at a certain point, like the really small ones are just hard to clean. I hope we get some giant ones because the Kennebecs can get absolutely massive if you let them grow stress free. They'll grow huge. But this year was so hot and so dry that like I mean, it does not surprise me that they're smaller this year.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, no, that's an acceptable size potato though. I'll take that. Now here's the funny thing, Aiden, is if you if you were to leave these like tiny little potatoes in the soil, like just kind of forget them or like lose them, they will grow next year. Like these will grow
this size.
Yeah, like that'll grow next year.
Really?
It's super annoying. Like we'll grow a different crop here next year,
and potatoes
and they're
will
like,
pop up.
like little potatoes will start popping up, and we kind of just weed them out. Like we don't let them grow.
Yeah.
Because they really won't form. I mean, they'll form potatoes, but they won't form like a healthy. You know, they won't like because the genetics in this. There's a lot more energy in this to form new potatoes than like a tiny little dinky potato. But quick soil check here, you guys. Look at the quality of the soil. I mean, wow. You really can't ask for prettier soil than that. I mean, it's just absolutely stunning. This soil is like crumbly, black, smells incredible. Oh man, it smells so good. It smells so earthy. Just incredible quality soil.
This feels so rewarding, and I didn't even get to plant these.
You'll have to plant next year. You have to plant some potatoes.
I know.
You can grow them in pots. You know that. Like you don't. Yeah, you don't need to have a garden like this to grow potatoes. You can literally grow them. We have videos where we've grown them in smart pots.
Really?
Yeah.
I never would have guessed.
Yeah, you can grow them in like a 5-gallon smart pot. It's crazy, and they grow really well. So Aiden, I can't say a whole lot about this year in terms of yield. I mean, it's definitely a yield. I mean, I'm happy with it. You can't ever be, anytime you ever get something, you can't be disappointed. But with these being like the biggest potatoes we got, they should have been, in a good year, the size should have been at least double this. And the amount that we got should have been at least double too. But again, I mean, we just got our first good rain yesterday, which isn't gonna do anything for the potatoes. I mean, after the plants have already grown and they've pretty much done their, they've spent all their energy, one good rain at the end of the season is not going to do it. Yeah. You have to have really consistent rains throughout the whole season, and I can count on one hand. I mean, well, you live in the area. You can count on one hand how many times it rained in the past 2 months.
It's been so hot.
It's been so hot and so dry, and that really is not great for potatoes. Potatoes do ideally. I mean, if you think about, think about like Ireland. You know, the weather in Ireland. I mean, you don't need a lot of sun in Ireland. A lot of cloudy days, but you get a lot of rain and a lot of cool weather. And it allows the potatoes to grow really slowly, or really smooth. Now, too cold, and that leads to disease like potato blight. But just, in that like 60 to 75 degree range, it's like perfect weather for potatoes to grow. And then obviously, good consistent rains, good quality soil. We have the good quality soil, and we did fertilize, we did everything right. And that's kind of where, when you look at the yield we got and realize that this was probably about, 50% less than we normally would have gotten from this size space, you kind of just say, well, that's gardening. You can't be frustrated with it.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing you could have done. So all in all, it was a year. It wasn't a great year, but it wasn't a terrible year. It was just a year. And so kind of par for the course for 2020, I'd say. It's just nothing really exceptional has happened in 2020, except for our very first cantaloupes. So, hey, you get it. You get what you get. You got to be happy with what you got, and we're going to enjoy them. And we'll probably take them back to the office and maybe do like a potato bake. So stay tuned on Facebook. We'll post pictures if we do that. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel with my co-host guest,
Aiden.
And we'll talk to you all later.
Thanks for having me.
See ya. Bye.